I worked 80-hour weeks for 15 years to give my wife her dream life. 3 years ago, I found her retirement plan folder, and I wasn't in it. Look, I was 42 years old back then. And today, I'm going to tell you how I spent a decade and a half building the perfect life for someone who was actively planning to leave me behind. But here's the thing, brother. I didn't know. For 8 years, I had no clue. Zero. I thought we were good. I thought we were happy. I thought I was doing everything right. Let me back up. I met Sarah when I was 25. She was 24, working as a yoga instructor, living with 3 roommates in this tiny apartment downtown. I was a junior analyst at a financial firm, pulling maybe 60 hours a week back then, but I was climbing, had ambition. She loved that about me, or at least, that's what she said. We dated for 2 years, got married, and man, I was all in. The whole package. House in the suburbs, the white picket fence dream, everything. And I delivered. I busted my ass to give her everything she wanted. When she said she wanted to quit teaching yoga to focus on wellness full-time, I said, go for it. When she wanted the German SUV, the one with the massage seats and the panoramic sunroof, I worked overtime for 3 months to make it happen. When she wanted to join that boutique gym, the one that costs more per month than most people's car payments, I didn't even blink. Just handed over the credit card. Because that's what you do, right? You take care of your family. You provide. You sacrifice. That's what being a man is about. So I worked. 80-hour weeks became normal. I missed dinners, missed weekends, missed my daughter's school plays because I was in client meetings. But I told myself it was worth it. I was building something, building security, building a future for us. Sarah never complained. That's the crazy part. She never said she was unhappy. She'd kiss me goodbye in the morning, ask how my day was when I got home at 10 p.m., tell me she understood when I had to travel for work. She was supportive, or at least she played the part perfectly. Fast forward to that day. March 14th. I remember the date because it's the day everything I thought I knew just shattered. Sarah asked me to help her find some tax documents on her laptop. Her MacBook had been acting weird, and she couldn't locate the folder with our 2022 returns. Simple request. She was at the gym, of course, and I had the afternoon off for once. Rare as hell, but I'd finished a major project early. So I'm sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through her desktop, and there it is. A folder labeled retirement_plan_final. I almost didn't click it. Almost just kept looking for the tax stuff. But something made me pause. Maybe it was the final part. Like, why would a retirement plan need to be final? We'd never really talked about retirement in detail. I figured we had time. I'm 42. She's 39. We've got another 25 years before that's even on the table. But curiosity got me. I opened it. Inside, Jesus. Inside was an Excel spreadsheet with tabs. Multiple tabs. Monthly_transfers. Property_details. Account_balances. 5_year_projection. This wasn't some casual daydream folder. This was a full financial plan. Professional level stuff. Color-coded cells. Formulas. Charts showing compound growth. And I'm scanning through it, thinking maybe she'd been planning a surprise for me. Like a vacation house or something. She's always talking about retiring to the coast, getting a place near the beach. So at first, I'm almost smiling. Then I see the names on the property deed PDF. Sarah Mitchell. Derek Thompson. Not Sarah and Michael Mitchell. Not our names, Sarah. And Derek. Who the hell is Derek Thompson? I stared at that screen for what felt like an hour. Just staring. Because my brain couldn't process it. Derek Thompson. The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. I opened another tab. Bank statements. A joint account I'd never seen before. Wells Fargo. Account opened in 2015. Current balance, $127,438. Monthly deposits, $3,500. Every single month, like clockwork. Going back, I scrolled and scrolled 96 months. 8 years of $3,500 deposits. I did the math in my head. That's $336,000. $336,000. Where the hell did that money come from? Then I saw the source account. Our joint checking. The one I deposited my salary into. The one I thought we use for household expenses, groceries, her car payment, the mortgage. She'd been siphoning $3,500 every month for 8 years. And I never noticed. Brother, I'm telling you, that moment right there, that's when the floor dropped out. Because it wasn't just about the money. It was the realization that for 8 years, my wife had been running a parallel financial life. And I was so buried in work, so trusting, so goddamn blind, that I never saw it. I opened the property details PDF. Beach house. Outer Banks, North Carolina. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, ocean view. Purchase price, $890,000. Purchased in July 2019. Down payment, $180,000. I remember 2019. Sarah told me her parents had gifted us money for an investment. Property. Said they wanted to help us build wealth. She showed me some brochures, talked about maybe using it as a rental. I said, fine, handle it. I'm drowning at work. Never looked at the paperwork. Trusted her completely. The deed had 2 names. Sarah Mitchell, Derek Thompson. Not me. My name wasn't on the house. I sat there with that laptop open, just frozen. The kitchen clock was ticking. I could hear it. Tick, tick. The refrigerator humming. A car driving by outside. Normal sounds, but nothing felt normal. Nothing made sense. Derek Thompson. Then it hit me. The personal trainer. Sarah's personal trainer at the boutique gym. The guy she'd been working with for, how long had she said? 7, 8 years. I'd met him once, maybe twice. Tall guy, shaggy blonde hair, always smiling. Talked about clean eating and functional fitness. Seemed nice enough. I'd shaken his hand. And apparently, for the last 8 years, he'd been co-owner of a beach house with my wife. I scrolled through more documents. There were photos. The house. Beautiful place, honestly. White exterior, blue shutters, wraparound deck. Interior shots, modern kitchen, hardwood floors, massive windows facing the ocean. It looked like something out of a magazine. There was an Airbnb listing. $4,200 per week. Sleeps 10. Book your dream beach vacation. They were renting it out. Making money off it. I found a revenue summary tab. In 2022 alone, they pulled in $68,000 in rental income. After expenses, they'd netted about $31,000. Split 2 ways. My wife was running a vacation rental business with her personal trainer, using money she'd been secretly transferring from our account for 8 years. I closed the laptop, stood up, walked to the sink. Just stood there, gripping the counter, staring out the window at our backyard. The swing set I'd built for our daughter. The garden Sarah had planted last spring. The grill where I'd made burgers last weekend. Everything looked the same. But nothing was real. She came home 2 hours later. All smiles, gym bag over her shoulder, protein shaker in hand. Asked if I'd found the tax documents. I said yeah, found them. Told her they were in the downloads folder. She thanked me, kissed my cheek, went upstairs to shower, and I just stood there, in the kitchen, listening to the water running upstairs. I didn't confront her that day, didn't say a word, because honestly, I was in shock. And part of me, the stupid, desperate part, thought maybe there was an explanation. Maybe Derek was just a business partner. Maybe the account was some weird investment thing I didn't understand. Maybe. But deep down, brother, I knew. I knew exactly what I was looking at. 3 days later, after I'd copied every file, every document, every spreadsheet onto a thumb drive, I made a phone call. To a guy I'd heard about through a colleague who'd gone through a messy divorce. A private investigator. Because if Sarah had been hiding this, what else had she been hiding? And man, I was about to find out. 3 weeks after I hired the private investigator, he called me. Said we needed to meet in person. Didn't want to send this stuff over email. So I drove to this diner like 40 minutes outside of town. Told work I had a dentist appointment. Sat there waiting for him, ordered coffee I didn't touch. And when he showed up, man, he had this thick folder. Just slid it across the table with this look on his face. Like he'd done this 100 times and knew exactly what was about to happen to me. He told me it was 247 pages. Said I should probably read it alone. At home, I paid him what I owed him, $8,500 for 3 weeks of work, and drove home with that folder sitting next to me like a ticking bomb. Sarah had our daughter at soccer practice that night. So I locked myself in my office, poured some whiskey, even though I don't usually drink on weeknights, and opened it. First page was a summary. Just bullet points. Professional language, you know, but even the clean version. Brother, it was brutal. Let me tell you what I found out. Derek Thompson, 34 years old. Personal trainer. Yeah, but that wasn't the whole story. Turns out in 2016, 1 year after he met Sarah, he registered a business. Some LLC in Delaware. Called it Coastal Wellness Retreats or something like that. And the business had 2 owners listed. Derek Thompson and S. Mitchell, silent partner. My wife was in business with him. And the business owned the beach house. Not them personally. The company owned it. Which meant this wasn't some stupid affair that got out of hand. This was planned. They'd set up legal paperwork, opened business accounts, filed taxes together probably. This was a real partnership. The financial stuff in that report, Jesus. The $3,500 a month I'd already seen was just a start. There was another credit card I'd never known existed. One of those premium travel cards with the big annual fee. And that fee had been showing up on our joint statement for years as a mischarge. I'd never questioned it. Figured it was one of Sarah's subscriptions or whatever. That card alone. Over 6 years, she'd racked up like $130,000 on it. Flights, hotels, nice restaurants. All paid off every month from our joint account. My money. Funding trips I didn't even know were happening. And the beach house, I knew about that property now, right? But here's what I didn't know. They'd been renting it out, like on Airbnb, you know? Summer rentals mostly. $4,000 a week, something like that. And over 4 years of doing that, they'd made serious money. The investigator estimated they grossed over $300,000 from rentals alone. After expenses and the mortgage and maintenance, they'd probably cleared $85,000 in pure profit. Which means Sarah had an extra $40-something thousand I knew nothing about. While I was maxing out my retirement accounts, thinking we needed every penny saved. But the photos, man, the photos were what really did it to me. The guy had surveillance shots. Sarah and Derek in Miami. This was back in 2018. Sitting at some outdoor restaurant, holding hands across the table. She was wearing this white sundress I'd bought her for our anniversary. Another one from Cancun, some resort pool bar. His arm around her. Both of them smiling. Colorado. Aspen, I think. Sitting inside a ski lodge by a fireplace. She was leaning against him. There were dozens of these. Different cities. Different years. All those trips she'd told me about. Work conferences. Yoga teacher retreats. Visiting her sister down in Atlanta. None of it was true. Not one trip. The investigator pulled flight records, matched them up. Every single time Sarah flew somewhere for these supposed work things, Derek had a ticket on the same flight, same dates, same destinations. They'd traveled together at least 40 times in 6 years. Long weekends mostly, sometimes a full week. Once they did a whole week in Costa Rica while I thought she was at some wellness certification program. I sat there reading all this, and the weird thing is, I wasn't crying. I wasn't breaking stuff. I was just cold, numb. Just kept flipping pages like I was reading a boring work document. Then I got to the section about their messages. The investigator had gotten into her phone records somehow. I didn't ask how. Probably better if I don't know. But he had call logs, text metadata, and some deleted messages he'd recovered. One message stuck with me. This was from Sarah to Derek, back in 2016. She wrote something like, "Can't believe he didn't notice the transfer again. He's so checked out. We're good for a few more months, then we'll figure out the timeline." Talking about me. I was the one who was checked out. Another message, a couple years later. Derek asking her how much longer they needed to wait. Saying he was tired of sneaking around. Wanted to take her to dinner without worrying. And Sarah told him, soon. Once the house value went up more and they hit some number in the account. Said they just needed to be patient. Then she said this thing that I can't get out of my head. She said, "He's not going anywhere." She was right. I wasn't. I was too busy working 80-hour weeks to fund her escape plan. But the thing that absolutely destroyed me was the timeline the investigator put together. He'd mapped out when everything started, month by month. March 2015, Sarah joins the gym. Meets Derek. April, he starts training her 3 times a week. May, they exchange personal numbers. Start texting constantly. June, first $3,500 transfer to the secret account. You see where this is going? Our daughter was born April 18th, 2015. The first money transfer happened June 3rd. 6 weeks. 6 weeks after my daughter was born, my wife opened a secret bank account with another man. I was working 90-hour weeks back then. Sarah had stopped teaching yoga when she got pregnant. We were living on just my salary. I'd taken on extra projects at work because her maternity leave wasn't paid. I was trying to make partner. I was running on 3 hours of sleep a night, coming home at midnight, leaving at 6 in the morning. And while I was killing myself to support our new family, she was planning a new life with her personal trainer. I thought about those months a lot after reading that. How I missed everything. My daughter's first smile. The first night she slept through. All of it. Because I was on planes, in meetings, on conference calls. Sarah would send me photos during the day, and I'd look at them between meetings feeling guilty that I wasn't there. And she was using that time, using my absence, using the fact that I was sacrificing everything to build an exit strategy. The report kept going. More bank accounts I didn't know about. Wanted some credit union with $23,000 in it. Credit card statements showing expensive gifts I thought she bought herself with money she didn't actually have. And emails. God, the emails between her and Derek. Talking about their 5-year plan. Actually calling it that. Like they were business partners planning a startup. One email from 2020. Sarah telling Derek, aim for 2023 for the conversation. 2023, the very year I found the folder. She'd had a target date for leaving me. Had it all planned out. Derek wrote back asking if she thought I'd suspect anything. Said it seemed like I was pretty oblivious, but 8 years was a long time to keep it going. And Sarah's response, man, she said I wouldn't suspect a thing. Said, as long as the house was clean and dinner was ready when I got home, I didn't ask questions. That's all I was. A paycheck who wanted a clean house and hot food. The investigator even pulled some social media stuff. Derek's Instagram. Most of the obvious couple photos were gone, but there were hints. A sunset photo from the beach house with some caption about best investment he ever made. Sarah had commented with a bunch of hearts. Another post with champagne glasses. Something about new beginnings. Sarah commented can't wait with a champagne emoji. They weren't even really hiding it. They just knew I wasn't looking. I closed that folder around 10 at night. Sarah and my daughter were downstairs. I could hear them laughing about something. My daughter's voice. She was nearly 8 years old and had no idea her mom was planning to destroy her life. I sat there in my office and realized I had two options. Option 1, go downstairs right now. Throw the folder on the counter. Demand answers. Let everything explode. Scream, cry, whatever needed to happen. Option 2, do exactly what Sarah had done to me for 8 years. Play the game. I thought about those emails. The timelines. The 5-year plan. How she'd smiled at me every morning while systematically dismantling our marriage behind my back. If she could do that for 8 years, I could do it for 8 weeks. Next morning, I made some calls. Found the best divorce attorney in the state. A guy named Richard Castellano. Used to be a prosecutor. Had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in these cases. Met with him that Friday. Showed him everything. The whole folder. All 247 pages. He looked through it, leaned back in his chair, and told me something I'll never forget. He said this wasn't just a divorce. This was financial fraud. Asset dissipation. If we played it right, she wouldn't just lose in court. She'd owe me everything she'd taken. But he told me not to confront her yet. Said we needed time to lock things down legally. Document everything. Build a case she couldn't fight. He said if I confronted her now, she'd get her own lawyer, and they'd start hiding stuff we didn't even know about yet. So that night I went home. Had dinner with Sarah and our daughter. Watched TV. Asked Sarah how her day went. She told me about some new wellness thing Derek was starting at the gym, and I smiled. Told her that sounded great. For 6 weeks, I lived a complete lie. I opened my own bank account at a different bank. Started putting part of my paycheck there. My lawyer said it was legal, protecting assets. I copied every file off Sarah's laptop onto a hard drive when she was out. Started keeping notes. Every time she said she was going somewhere, and I found out later it wasn't true. I watched her lie to my face every single day. And I lied right back, because brother, if she thought I was clueless before, she had no idea what was coming. 6 weeks. I lived in that house for 6 weeks, pretending everything was normal. Smiling over coffee in the morning. Asking how her workout went. Kissing her goodbye like nothing had changed. But under the surface, brother, I was documenting everything. Every time she said she was going to the gym and came home 3 hours later. Every time her phone buzzed and she walked into another room to answer it. Every credit card charge that didn't make sense. My lawyer told me to act normal. Said the last thing we wanted was to tip her off before we had everything locked down. So I played the part. Came home from work, had dinner with the family, watched TV on the couch. And the whole time I was thinking about those emails. That 5-year plan. The way she'd look me in the eye every single day and lied. I picked a Saturday. April 20th. Made sure my daughter was at Sarah's mom's house for the weekend. Told Sarah's mom we needed some alone time to reconnect. She thought it was sweet. Had no idea what was coming. That morning, I went to the office. Told Sarah I had to catch up on some work. Instead, I went to FedEx and printed out the entire investigator's report. All 247 pages. Cost me like $80 in printing fees, but I didn't care. Brought it home in a box. Sarah was out, probably at the gym. Probably with Derek. I spread everything out on the kitchen table. Bank statements, photos, emails, property records, the timeline, everything. Just laid it all out like I was setting up a crime scene. Then I sat down and waited. She came home around 2 in the afternoon. I heard her car pull into the driveway, the garage door opening, her gym bag hitting the floor in the mudroom. She walked into the kitchen all smiles, hair in a ponytail, wearing those expensive workout clothes I'd paid for. Started talking about how she'd crushed her workout. Said Derek had taught her some new routine. I just looked at her. Didn't say anything. She stopped talking. Noticed the papers on the table. I saw her face change. Just for a second. This flash of, I don't know, recognition maybe. Fear, I said. Sit down. We need to talk. She stayed standing. Asked what this was about. Her voice had this edge to it now. Defensive already. I told her to sit down. She did, slowly, and I watched her eyes scan the table. Saw her land on one of the photos. Her and Derek at that Miami restaurant. Saw her throat move when she swallowed. I asked her if she knew what I was looking at. She tried to play dumb at first. Said she didn't understand. What are all these papers? Why was I going through her stuff? I told her I'd hired a private investigator 3 months ago. That I knew everything. The account. The house. The trips. Derek. All of it. And man, the way her face just shut down, like a door slamming. She went completely blank. Just stared at me. Then she tried to explain. Said it wasn't what it looked like. That Derek was a business partner. That the house was an investment. That the trips were for work for the wellness company they were building. I asked her why my name wasn't on anything. Why she'd been hiding it for 8 years. Why she'd transferred over $300,000 of our money without telling me. She said she was going to tell me. Said she'd been waiting for the right time. Said she didn't think I'd understand because I didn't care about her wellness business. Dreams. Gaslighting. That's what my liar had called it. Making me feel crazy for being upset about something that was clearly wrong. So I showed her the emails. The ones where she and Derek talked about their 5-year plan. The ones where she said I was too checked out to notice. The ones where she'd planned the conversation for this year. She read them, and I watched something shift. She stopped trying to explain. Just sat there looking at those emails. Then she started crying. This wasn't the explosive breakdown you see in movies. It was quiet. Tears just running down her face, and she told me she was sorry, that she never meant for it to go this far, that it started innocent and just evolved. I asked her when. When did it stop being innocent? She didn't answer that, so I asked something else. I asked if she loved him. Long pause, really long, and then she nodded. Said she did. Said she'd loved him for years. I asked if she loved me. She looked at me then, really looked at me. And here's the thing that broke me more than anything else in this whole nightmare. She said, I don't know anymore. Not I don't love you, but I don't know. After 15 years of marriage, after building a life together, after our daughter, she didn't know if she loved me. I asked her what she wanted, what the endgame was, and she got defensive again. Started saying I was never home, that I'd chosen my career over her, that she'd been lonely for years, that Derek actually paid attention to her, actually made her feel valued. I reminded her that I'd been working those hours to give her everything she wanted, the house, the car, the gym membership, the freedom to not have to work. She said she never asked for any of that. Said what she wanted was a husband who was actually present. And maybe she had a point there. Maybe I had been absent. But brother, you don't solve that by stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars and buying a secret beach house with your personal trainer. The conversation went in circles for like an hour. Her crying, me trying to stay calm, her blaming me asking questions she couldn't answer. Then she got angry. Really angry, started yelling, saying I had no right to hire someone to spy on her, that I'd violated her privacy, that this was all my fault for being controlling and paranoid. I told her I'd found the folder by accident, reminded her of that, asked if she thought I was just supposed to ignore it after seeing my name missing from everything. She didn't have an answer for that either. Finally, I asked the question I'd been avoiding. I asked her what the plan was. When was she going to tell me? When was the conversation supposed to happen? She went quiet again, looked down at her hands, and then she said something I'll never forget. She looked up at me with this cold expression, like she was talking to a stranger. She said, "You chose work. I chose to live." Just like that. You chose work. I chose to live. Like I'd been the one betraying her. Like I was the villain in this story. I told her to get out. Told her to pack a bag and leave. That I'd have my lawyer contact hers and we'd figure out the rest legally. She tried to argue. Said this was her house too. That I couldn't just kick her out. I reminded her that my name was on the deed. Mine alone. That I'd been paying the mortgage for 15 years while she'd been funneling money into secret accounts. She packed the bag. Took about an hour. I stayed in the kitchen. Heard her upstairs moving around, opening drawers, zipping luggage. She came back down with a suitcase. Stood in the doorway looking at me. I think part of her expected me to stop her, to ask her to stay, to say we could work it out. I didn't say anything. She left. I sat there at that table for a long time after she was gone. Just sat there looking at all those papers. All that evidence of this parallel life she'd been living. Around 9 that night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. It was a lawyer. Sarah's lawyer. Some guy named Bradford or something. Real slick voice. He told me that Sarah had retained him. That we needed to discuss the separation process. That Sarah was requesting I vacate the marital home temporarily while we worked things out. I told him Sarah didn't live here anymore. That I'd have my lawyer call him. He tried to talk more, but I hung up. The next morning, I woke up to a notification on my phone. Instagram. Derek had posted something and I was tagged. Not directly, but someone had sent it to me. It was a photo. Derek and Sarah on the deck of that beach house. Sunset in the background. Both of them smiling, his arm around her. The caption said, "Finally free to love openly," with a heart emoji. Finally free. Like I'd been holding them prisoner. Like they were the victims. I showed it to my lawyer Monday morning. He looked at it and smiled. Not a happy smile. A predator smile. He said this was perfect. Sad Derek just handed us evidence of an ongoing affair. That the timing of this post, one day after I confronted Sarah, showed consciousness of guilt. Then he told me his strategy. He said we weren't going to treat this like a normal divorce. We were going to treat it like theft. We were going to prove that every dollar Sarah had transferred wasn't marital asset division. It was systematic fraud. And we were going to make her pay back every penny, plus damages, plus legal fees. He said by the time we were done, Sarah wouldn't just lose the divorce. She'd owe me more money than she'd hidden. I asked how long it would take. He said, "Buckle up. This is going to be a war." He wasn't kidding. The next 6 months were the worst of my life. And I'm including the month I found out about all this. Because at least then it was shock. New information. Your brain can kind of insulate itself from shock. But the legal process? Brother, that's just grinding. Day after day. Week after week. Endless emails from lawyers. Court dates. Depositions. Discovery. Every single piece of your life getting examined under a microscope by strangers. My lawyer wasn't kidding when he said it would be a war. First thing we did was file for divorce on grounds of adultery and fraud. In our state, that matters. Affects how assets get divided. Sarah's lawyer tried to argue for irreconcilable differences instead. Keep it clean, no fault. Split everything 50-50 and move on. My lawyer shut that down immediately. Said we had documented proof of an 8-year affair and systematic asset dissipation. Said if they wanted to go the no-fault route, we'd see them in court with all our evidence. They backed off that pretty quick. Discovery phase was brutal. That's when both sides get to request documents. Bank records, phone records, emails, everything. And it has to be turned over. Sarah tried to stall at first. Her lawyer kept filing extensions, claiming they needed more time to gather everything. My lawyer said that was delay tactic. Said they were probably scrubbing stuff, deleting things they didn't want us to see. So we got the court to order a forensic accountant. Guy named Harold something, older guy. Had been doing this for like 30 years. He had access to subpoena records directly from banks. And man, Harold found things even my private investigator had missed. There was another account. This one at some credit union in Delaware. Had about $60,000 in it. Opened in 2018. Sarah's name only. Funded by transfers from that joint account she had with Derek. So she was hiding money from Derek too. Had her own secret stash inside the secret stash. Harold found credit cards we didn't know about. Store cards. Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's. Total balances across all of them was like 40 grand. All paid from the joint account with Derek. But the big one, the one that changed everything. Harold found an offshore account, Cayman Islands, opened through some wealth management firm in 2020. Balance was $85,000. My lawyer asked me if I knew anything about it. I didn't. Had never even heard Sarah mention offshore accounts. Didn't think we had that kind of money to be doing offshore stuff. Turns out she'd been sending money there for 4 years. Wire transfers. Small amounts. $3,000 here. $5,000 there. Under the reporting threshold, so it wouldn't flag. That's when my lawyer's whole tone changed. He said this wasn't just civil fraud anymore. This was potentially criminal. Tax evasion, hiding assets from the IRS. He said we needed to be careful about how we proceeded because if we reported this, Sarah could face federal charges. I asked what he recommended. He said use it as leverage. Don't report it yet, but make sure her lawyer knows we found it. Let them sweat about the possibility of federal prison. So that's what we did. The look on her lawyer's face when we brought it up in a conference call. I wasn't even there in person, but my lawyer described it to me later. Said the guy went completely silent for like 30 seconds. After that, things got nasty. Sarah's lawyer started making accusations. Said I was financially abusive. That I'd controlled all the money in the marriage, and Sarah had to hide funds just to have any independence. They tried to paint me as this tyrannical husband who monitored every penny. My lawyer pulled out our bank records, showed that Sarah had full access to all accounts, had her own credit cards with no limits, had never once been denied when she wanted to buy something. They tried a different angle. Said I'd neglected her emotionally, that I was never home, that the affair happened because I'd abandoned the marriage. My lawyer asked if emotional neglect was legal grounds for stealing $400,000. They didn't have an answer for that. The custody fight was the worst part, because that's where they knew they could hurt me. Sarah filed for primary custody. Said she'd been the primary caregiver for nearly 8 years, that our daughter needed stability and consistency, that I worked too much to be a proper single parent. They had a point about the work thing. I did work a lot, but I'd already started cutting back. Dropped to 50 hours a week. Started leaving the office by 6. I wasn't going to lose my daughter because of a job. We had to do evaluations. This child psychologist spent 3 hours interviewing me, asking questions about my parenting style, my schedule, how I plan to manage custody with my work. Same psychologist interviewed Sarah. Interviewed our daughter too. That was hard. Knowing my 7-year-old had to sit in some office answering questions about whether she loved mommy or daddy more. The psychologist's report came back mixed. Said both of us were capable parents. Said our daughter loved us both. Recommended shared custody. But here's the thing. The report also noted that Sarah had traveled extensively during our daughter's early years. That there were questions about her availability and stability given the ongoing affair. Sarah's lawyer fought that hard. Said the travel was for work. For building a business that would benefit our daughter long term. My lawyer pulled phone records showing Sarah and Derek had taken at least 40 trips together. Asked how many of those trips involved our daughter. The answer was 0. Not one. Derek got pulled into this eventually. Had to give a deposition. My lawyer called him as a witness. Watching that deposition video, man, Derek was not prepared for this. He's a personal trainer. Probably never been in a legal proceeding in his life. You could tell he was nervous. Sweating. Kept looking at Sarah's lawyer like he wanted help. My lawyer asked him about the business. The LLC. When they formed it. What the business purpose was. Derek gave some vague answers about wellness retreats. Said they were planning to expand. Open more properties. My lawyer asked him if his wife knew about the business relationship with Sarah. Long pause. Derek's face went red. My lawyer repeated the question. Asked if Derek's wife knew he owned property with another woman. Derek said, not exactly. Turns out Derek was married. Had been married for 12 years. Had 2 kids. Ages 7 and 5. His wife had no idea about any of this. The beach house, the business, the affair. None of it. My lawyer asked if his wife thought he'd been on business trips when he was in Miami and Cancun with Sarah. Derek said yes. My lawyer asked if deceiving his wife about his whereabouts for 6 years constituted fraud against her. Derek's lawyer objected to the question, said it wasn't relevant to our case. But the damage was done. Now we knew Derek had been lying to his wife the same way Sarah had been lying to me. My lawyer got Derek's wife's contact information from public records. Didn't reach out directly. That would have been improper. But somehow she found out anyway. Within 2 weeks, Derek's wife had filed for divorce too. And she was claiming partial ownership of that beach house. Said it was purchased with marital funds during their marriage. Even though Derek's name was on the deed, his money had come from their joint finances. So now there were 3 parties fighting over that property. Me, Sarah, and Derek's wife. The house had to get appraised for the court. Came back valued at $1.2 million. It had appreciated since they bought it. That meant if it sold, there'd be about $300,000 in equity after paying off the mortgage. 3 people fighting over $300,000. My lawyer said this was actually good for us. Meant the asset was complicated. Harder for Sarah to claim full ownership. More discoveries kept coming out. Harold the accountant found that Sarah had used our daughter's social security number to open a credit card. Without telling me. Without telling our daughter, obviously. That's identity theft. Against a minor. Against our own child. My lawyer said this was a huge problem for Sarah. Said using a child's SSN without both parents' consent was a crime. Sarah's lawyer tried to explain it away. Said it was just to build credit for our daughter. That lots of parents do it. My lawyer asked why Sarah hadn't mentioned it to me. Why it was secret. Why the card had been used to make purchases that benefited Sarah and Derek. No good answer. We also found evidence that Sarah had forged my signature on a home equity line of credit application. Back in 2019, she'd taken out $60,000 against our house and had never known about it. The bank had copies of the paperwork. My signature on there looked like mine. But when we got a handwriting expert to examine it, he said it was forged. Said the pressure patterns were wrong. That it was someone trying to copy my signature rather than me actually signing. That $60,000 had gone into the joint account with Derek. My lawyer said this was criminal fraud. forgery, could be prosecuted. Sarah's lawyer must have known they were in trouble at this point, because they started pushing hard for a settlement, wanted to mediate, avoid a trial. My lawyer asked what they were offering. They offered to give me 60% of marital assets. Sarah would pay back $200,000 of what she'd hidden. She'd give up any claim to spousal support. They'd agreed to joint custody with me having slight majority. My lawyer looked at me and asked what I wanted to do. I said no. I wanted to go to trial. Wanted a judge to see everything she'd done. Wanted it on public record. He warned me that trials are expensive, that I could spend another $100,000 in legal fees, that there was always a risk. I said I didn't care. This wasn't about money anymore, so we went to trial. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Felt like 3 years. Every day sitting in that courtroom listening to lawyers argue about my life, about my marriage, about whether I'd been a good husband, whether Sarah had been justified in doing what she did. They called witnesses. Sarah's friends testified that she'd been unhappy for years, that I was never around, that she'd confided in them about feeling lonely. We called the babysitter. She testified that Sarah had left our daughter with her 60-plus times over the years to go on trips, that sometimes Sarah would be gone for 4 or 5 days at a time. We called neighbors who'd seen Derek's car parked at our house during the day when I was at work. The hardest part was when they read the emails out loud in court. These lawyers just reading Sarah's words to Derek, reading his words to her. All these intimate messages about their future together, about how they couldn't wait to be free. Sarah cried through a lot of that. Sat at her table with tissues just crying. I didn't cry. Just sat there listening, taking it in. The judge was a woman in her 60s, Judge Morrison. She didn't show much emotion through most of the trial. Just listened, asked clarifying questions, made notes. But there was one moment when my lawyer presented evidence of the identity theft involving our daughter. The credit card with our daughter's social security number. Judge Morrison looked up from the papers, looked directly at Sarah, and I saw her expression change. Saw this. Disgust, maybe. Disappointment. She asked Sarah's lawyer to explain how this was acceptable behavior. Sarah's lawyer stumbled through some answer about building credit. Judge Morrison cut him off. Said using a minor's identity without proper disclosure to both parents and without the child's benefit was unconscionable. That's the word she used. Unconscionable. Sarah had a breakdown after that. Just completely fell apart in the courtroom. Sobbing. Her lawyer called for a recess. They took her out of the room. Court resumed an hour later. Sarah's lawyer stood up and said they wanted to request a settlement conference with the judge. That meant they were giving up. Knew they were going to lose. The settlement conference happened 2 days later. Just the lawyers and the judge in chambers. I wasn't there. My lawyer called me after. Said Sarah had agreed to almost everything we wanted. She'd pay back $421,000 plus interest. Came out to about $487,000 total. The beach house would be sold. I'd get 70% of the proceeds. She'd get 25. Derek's wife would get 5. Sarah would get 25% of other marital assets. No spousal support. I'd get primary custody. 60-40 split. She'd have visitation rights, but supervised for the first 6 months until she could demonstrate housing stability. And she'd plead to a misdemeanor charge for the identity theft. Avoid jail time, but get probation and community service. My lawyer said it was a complete victory. Said we've gotten everything we wanted, and more. I asked when it would be final. He said about 30 days. Just paperwork at this point. I hung up the phone and just sat there. I'd won. Legally, I'd won everything. But brother, it didn't feel like winning. It felt like standing in the ruins of something that used to be a life. Today, 3 years later, I'm 45 years old now, sitting here telling you this story. The divorce was finalized in November 3 years ago. Judge signed the papers. It was done. I got most of what I wanted. Sarah had to pay me back the $487,000. She set up a payment plan. Takes it right out of her paycheck now. I get $3,500 a month. Same amount she used to send to Derek. Funny how that worked out. The beach house sold. Took almost a year to find a buyer, but it finally went. Market had cooled off a bit, so we didn't get as much as we hoped. After the mortgage and fees, I walked away with about $200,000. Sarah got her cut. Derek's ex-wife got hers. Custody shook out pretty much how the settlement said. I have our daughter 60% of the time. Sarah gets her every other weekend and one weeknight for dinner. Supervised visits ended after 6 months when Sarah got a stable job and apartment. On paper, I won everything. But here's what they don't tell you about these situations. Here's what nobody mentions when they hear these stories and say, man, you dodged a bullet, or good thing you found out. The cost. I spent $340,000 on lawyers. $340,000. That's more than most people make in 5 years. Gone. Just burned through it over 11 months of legal warfare. Lost a promotion at work. Was up for VP. They passed me over. Side, I seemed distracted. They were right. I was. Hard to focus on quarterly projections when you're getting texts from your lawyer about your wife forging your signature. Gained 30 pounds during the divorce. Stress eating. Drinking more than I should have. Not sleeping. You know how they say stress ages you? It's real. I look at photos from before all this and I look 10 years younger. My relationship with my daughter, man, that's the part that kills me. She's almost 11 now. Smart kid. Sees everything. Ask questions I don't know how to answer, like last month. We're having breakfast and she asked me why I never date anyone. Says her friend's dad is remarried and seems happy. Asks if I'm ever gonna find someone. I didn't know what to tell her. How do you explain to a 12-year-old that you don't trust anyone anymore? That every time you meet someone new, you're looking for the red flags? That you assume everyone's lying until proven otherwise? I just told her I was focusing on being her dad right now. She seemed to accept that. She asked about her mom sometimes, why we got divorced. Sarah told her some version where we just grew apart. Didn't love each other anymore. Very sanitized. Our daughter doesn't know about Derek. Doesn't know about the money. Doesn't know her mom used her social security number. She just knows her parents don't live together anymore, and it's sad. Few months ago, she showed me something on her mom's Facebook. Sarah had posted photos from a wedding. She'd gotten remarried. To some guy. Not Derek. Different personal trainer, actually. Guy named Marcus or something. Works at the same gym. Caption on the photo said something about finally finding someone who values her. Heart emojis. All her friends commenting congratulations, and you deserve happiness. My daughter asked if I was upset that mom got remarried. I told her no. Told her I wanted her mom to be happy. That was true, actually. I don't care if Sarah's happy or not. I just don't feel anything about her anymore. It's like that part of my brain shut off. Where I used to feel something when I saw her or heard her name. Now it's just nothing. Blank. Derek lost his personal training certification. State board investigated him after the divorce stuff became public. Something about ethical violations. Conducting a relationship with a client. Using the business for personal benefit. I don't know all the details. Last I heard, he was working at a car dealership. Sales. His ex-wife got primary custody of their kids. He sees them even less than Sarah sees ours. The beach house is gone. Owned by some family from New Jersey now. Sometimes I look it up on Zillow. Just to see. Still listed as a vacation rental. They're getting like $5,000 a week for it now. Where am I now? I moved out of the family house. Too many memories. Too much of Sarah's presence still there. Sold it. Bought a smaller place. 2-bedroom condo downtown. Closer to work. Easier to manage. My daughter has her own room there. Decorated it how she wanted. That was important to me. Needed her to feel like it was really her space. Not just Dad's place where she visits. Cut my work hours back. Do maybe 50 hours a week now. Sometimes less. Don't travel unless absolutely necessary. Made it clear to the partners that I'm prioritizing my kid. They weren't thrilled, but they dealt with it. Financially, I'm okay. Getting that money back from Sarah helped. Still have my salary. Still have retirement accounts she didn't touch. I'll be fine. Dating, yeah. That's not really happening. I've been on maybe 4 or 5 dates in 3 years. Set up by well-meaning friends who think I need to get back out there. Each time, it's the same thing. Nice woman. Dinner. Conversation. And the whole time, I'm just analyzing everything. She mentions she goes to yoga. I'm thinking about Sarah and Derek. She says she's between jobs. I'm wondering if she wants a provider. She asks about my divorce. I'm calculating how much information is safe to share. It's exhausting and unfair to them. These are probably perfectly nice women, but I can't turn off the paranoia. Had one woman tell me on a second date that I seemed emotionally unavailable. She wasn't wrong. I thanked her for her honesty. Haven't tried since. Sleep's still not great. I'm up most nights around 3 a.m. Just awake, brain going over stuff. Sometimes I'm thinking about the divorce. Sometimes work. Sometimes nothing in particular. Just awake. My doctor suggested I try therapy. I went twice. Sat in this office with this guy who kept asking me how I felt about things. I didn't know how to explain that I don't feel much of anything anymore. That I'm just managing. Getting through days. Being there for my daughter. He wanted to see me weekly. I told him I'd think about it. Never went back. The gym helps more than therapy did. I go every morning. 5 a.m. Before work. Lift heavy. Run. Get it out of my system. That's where I process stuff. Not talking to some stranger in an office. I've got a routine now. Wake up at 4:30. Gym by 5. Home by 6:30. Shower. Get my daughter up if she's with me. Make breakfast. Drop her at school. Work until 6. Home. Dinner. Help with homework if needed. Watch TV or read. Bed by 10. Repeat. It's stable. Predictable. That's what I need right now. Friends kind of drifted away during the divorce. The married ones especially. Couples we used to hang out with. Once Sarah and I split, they didn't know what to do with me. Stopped inviting me to things. Too awkward, I guess. I've got a couple guys I grab drinks with sometimes. Talk about sports, work, surface stuff. Nobody wants to hear about your divorce drama for 3 years straight. I get that. So yeah, this is my life now. 45 years old. Single. Living in a condo. Seeing my daughter 4 days a week instead of every day. Working a job I don't care that much about anymore. Going through motions. People ask if I regret marrying Sarah. If I wish I could go back and change things. Honestly, yes, I regret it. Not because of the money. Not even because of the betrayal, really. I regret it because I wasted 15 years building a life with someone who was building a completely different life behind my back. 15 years I could have spent with someone who actually wanted to be with me. Or alone, or focused on my career without the guilt. Just anything other than what I did. I regret believing the fantasy. That if you work hard and provide and sacrifice, then your family will appreciate it. That loyalty means something. That marriage is a partnership. It's not. Or, at least mine wasn't. Mine was me funding someone else's affair while thinking I was building a future. The question people ask most is, how did you not know? How did you miss the signs for 8 years? I've thought about this a lot. The signs were there. Looking back, they're obvious. Her phone always face down. Never leaving it unattended. taking calls in other rooms, the gym trips that lasted 3 hours, the yoga retreats that required flying across the country, the new clothes and jewelry I didn't remember buying her, the way she stopped asking about my day, stopped caring what I was working on. We'd have dinner and she'd be somewhere else mentally, distracted. I thought she was just tired or stressed about whatever wellness project she was working on. The sex dropped off. Went from a couple times a week to maybe once a month, then less. I figured it was age, stress, being tired from taking care of our daughter. Never occurred to me she was getting it somewhere else. All of it was right there. I just didn't look, didn't want to see. Easier to believe everything was fine. So if there's anyone listening to this who's living the same life I lived, brother, look. Actually look at your relationship, at the bank accounts, at where your partner goes and who they're with. If your wife talks about her personal trainer more than she talks about you, wake up. If you're working 80-hour weeks and she never complains about you being gone, ask yourself why. If money's disappearing and you can't track where, don't wait 8 years to figure it out. And for God's sake, prenup. I don't care how much you love someone. I don't care how unromantic it seems. Protect yourself. Because the person you're marrying could be someone completely different 8 years from now. And by then, it's too late. I look at my daughter sometimes and wonder what I would tell her about relationships when she's older. What advice I can give that isn't just cynical and bitter. Maybe I'll tell her that trust is earned, not given. That love without transparency is just performance. That someone who really loves you won't hide anything from you. Or maybe I won't say anything. Maybe I'll just make sure she sees me being careful, being smart, protecting myself. And she'll learn from that. 3 years out, I'm still standing, still here. Got my daughter. Got my health mostly. Got enough money to be comfortable. But man, I'm tired. Soul tired. The kind that sleep doesn't fix. And the worst part, Sarah's out there living her life, remarried, posting happy photos on social media. Her friends telling her she deserves happiness. Our daughter spending weekends at her new place with her new husband. While I'm here at 3 in the morning in my 2-bedroom condo, telling you this because I can't sleep. She gets to move on, gets to pretend like none of it happened, gets to play victim to people who don't know the whole story. And I get to carry it, all of it, the knowledge, the betrayal, the cost. So here's my final thought, my message to whoever needs to hear it. I worked 80-hour weeks for 15 years, gave my wife everything she asked for, sacrificed time with my daughter, missed birthdays and holidays and school plays, all because I thought I was building something, building security, building a future for us. And recently, 3 years after finding that folder, I realized something. I wasn't in any of her plans, never was. I was just the funding source. The ATM she smiled at in the morning before going to spend my money with someone else. So if you're that guy, the one working yourself to death while your wife does whatever she wants with whoever she wants, the one who thinks loyalty and sacrifice matter, brother, they don't. Not if you're the only one being loyal. Not if you're the only one sacrificing. Look at your life, right now, before it's too late. Because I promise you, finding out 8 years too late is worse than finding out today. Trust me on that. Anyway, that's my story. Thanks for listening. If it helped even one person avoid what I went through, then maybe it was worth telling. Stay smart out there. And for the love of God, prenup.